Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news in the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorda, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today, and as always, you can catch us on the web at ringsidereporter.com. If you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. We'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight, and today we are going to talk about Triple G versus Canelo. The rematch is signed, and we'll give you all the details. Deontay Wilder once again calls Anthony Joshua's bluff. Said he'll fight him for anything he wants. Sign the contract. Let's go. Will the fight be signed? I don't know. We'll talk about it. But first, we get started with the fights on Showtime last night. Errol, the Truth Spence, versus Carlos Ocampo, 12 rounds for the IBF welterweight title. Errol Spence defends his IBF title with a big first-round KO in Frisco, Texas last night. You know, up until the knockout, I actually thought Ocampo was doing pretty well. He was getting touched up, but he hit Spence hard a couple of times. I mean, I think he hit Spence with that right hand a couple of times, and there was one where Spence was walking in and he got touched, man, and I thought, wow, that was a hard shot. You know, to me, if the fight had went some distance, I thought he would have made a fight out of it, at least made Spence work. Wasn't to be. Spence went to the body early, as he always does, and at the end of the round landed a shot low. He hit him shot like below that, not, you know, it was below that belt line, not exactly a Jerry Cooney type of shot, but one of those that was straight a little bit low. And then he followed it up with a left hook straight to the liver, and that's it, man. Ocampo dropped like he was shot. That was it. He tried to get up, he just went right back down. That was it. He was getting counted out. Everyone knew that Spence was going to win this fight, but it was the mandatory. So now he moves on to hopefully face better competition. The one thing I noticed last night is that, and even before that, but especially after last night, is people started clamoring for Spence versus Crawford. Trust me, that fight ain't happening anytime soon. Not only do they have two different promoters, but the fight isn't worth that much now. It isn't. I mean, money-wise, the fight's not worth that much. It'll be worth more in the future. There's no reason to rush it. But right now, with just one title apiece, it'll be worth more in a unification fight. It'll be worth more as each star starts to grow. But as it stands right now, that fight ain't happening anytime soon. I mean, we'd all like to see it, don't get me wrong, but it's not happening anytime soon. Beeb, what were your thoughts on Errol Spence Jr.?
I could not agree with you more. Carlos Ocampo didn't do anything wrong. Not a good fight. He really didn't make any mistakes. And the thing about it is you got to credit Errol Spence because he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. Because he was taking those body shots like he normally does, and he was trying to wrap them around the elbows. Okay, so what he did was he was forcing Ocampo to keep those elbows home, right? And he kept touching him, to the sides, kept touching him to the sides. So then Ocampo wasn't, anticipating or prepared to defend against that one that went right in between the elbows, right in the middle, right above the pit of his belly button, the pit of his stomach. So I think that Spence was setting up for that shot, and give him credit for threading that needle, because that's a little space in there he had to work with, and he forced it through and he landed it cleanly, where it's very difficult to land that punch cleanly when you get the guy shelling up a little bit with his arms in front of his torso, and there's only that little space left, and he thread the needle and he landed that perfectly, and right in the solar plexus, and took the win right out of Ocampo. So I think Errol Spence doesn't get enough credit for the way he sets up his offense, the way he creates those openings. And, people say he gets hit, but, he'll get hit, but he never seems to get hit with the same punch at the same place at the same time. He makes adjustments as the fight goes on. And he doesn't get hit cleanly. He steps around shots. He positions his body well on the inside where he can get leverage on his shots and be in position to land and not giving his opponent much to counter off of. So Spence is definitely one of them Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran type stalker swarmer types. But the thing is he's got quick hands and quick feet to go along with that killer instinct and that relentless, dog type style, similar to Crawford, because he's got that dog in him too, where he just wants to go in there, and when push comes to shove, he's willing to go in there and walk through fire and take your head off. He'll stay right in there with the trenches with you. He'll grit down on his mouthpiece, and he'll get in that phone booth and dig those body shots in there, where a lot of guys don't like being in the belly of the beast. They being in that hot kitchen where the heat is. A lot of guys can't stay in there that long and be successful without getting hit themselves. And Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, I think, are able to do that. And I think Errol Spence probably does it a little bit better than Terrence Crawford, because he's more of an inside fighter than Terrence Crawford is. Terrence Crawford likes to move a little bit more, use the ring, and fight on the outside a little more. Whereas Errol Spence can fight on the outside, but he loves to get in that pocket and really go to war with you. And it's going to be hard to see anyone coming up that can beat him. Crawford style may present problems, but again, I think Spence is big, he's strong, and probably hits harder than Crawford. So all those things have to be considered when going into a matchup and analyzing the two fighters. But all in all, Spence had a great homecoming, did it right in front of his hometown crowd. And I also admire the way he handles the press, and the way he handled the press throughout the whole promotion and even after the fight. Seemed very gracious, very friendly, laid back, answered everyone's questions, was very humble, but he was also insightful. He really elaborated on things. He really explained things and seemed very real and honest about things. And I'm telling you, I think this guy can be a superstar. He's a very, very likable person, down-to-earth guy, seems very honest, seems very just a regular type person, outside of the fact that he's got a real gift. But other than that gift, outside of that gift, he's just a regular guy like the rest of us. And I think people can get the sense of that. And I think it's very refreshing to hear him speak and act and, be out there and talk to people. And you just get a good feeling about the guy. I think that the guy can go far, and I hope he does go far. And that Terrence Crawford fight is definitely something that we want to see. But at least on Spence's side, he's got options. He could fight the winner of Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. He could fight Keith Thurman. There's more guys on the PBC side in terms of welterweights as opposed to the top rank side. So Terrence Crawford, I think, at some point is going to be nudging at Bob, say, hey, man, get me over that, cross me over, walk me over to that other side of the street so I can get some of that action too. But, yeah, man, I'm excited to see what happens with Errol Spence next. And, I'll be watching every fight. 12,600
people in Texas at that
count. It wasn't 14? It wasn't 14?
No, it was 12,600.
Okay.
That's a lot of people.
That's good.
A lot of people. That's a great number to bring in Texas. Because that venue, not a lot of fights go down. You're talking about big fights, or just, I wouldn't have expected, what if Wilder hit 10,000 in his hometown or something like that? And
11.
Yeah, his hometown, yeah.
Well, we've seen Bronner come here and do a little less than 5, like 45, 46 in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, doing that in his home, right there in Texas, that's a big deal. I mean, that's a good number, and that also opens it up for Texas. You got the Charlos right there. You have, so
you could put together a stacked card with Spence and the Charlo brothers, right?
Yeah, you really could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems that Jerry Jones is behind this whole thing. So if the fights are big enough, he could open up Cowboy Stadium. You know, he owns the place.
Right. So what were your thoughts,
know?
Robert? What were your thoughts on Errol Spence, and where does he go from here?
Well, I firmly believe that we saw the number one welterweight in the world. I don't think there's anybody in the division other than Terrence Crawford that could even come close to giving him a competitive fight. I think he dominates almost everybody else in the division. I think the winner of the Garcia-Porter fight, yeah, they're going to be happy they won that fight, but their title reign is going to be short-lived because I think Earl is eventually going to get a hold of that title, and I think he's eventually going to get a hold of Keith Thurman's other title if he doesn't vacate it first. I firmly believe that until he fights Crawford, he dominates everybody in the division, and we're dealing with a mega star here. And I'd like to see him get signed to a real promoter so he's promoted properly. So guys like him and Wilder don't have to promote themselves because I honestly think if you want to look at the PBC stable of fighters, those are the two that could really make you some money. Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder. So I'd like to see a real promoter get behind those two, and I think the sky's the limit for especially Spence. I mean, he just went in there and did what he had to do last night, and I have a feeling this is not going to be the last time that we see a performance that blows us away out of him.
You know, I mean, you know, as far as the promoter thing for Spence goes, I mean, 12,600 seats, he sold that place out. You know, you got to ask yourself at that point, you know, what more can a promoter do for him? I don't know. He did a lot of PR. Yeah. There was a lot of PR behind him this week as far as what he did in the community and stuff. The Salvation Army.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. Was passing out food and everything like that, working, you know, he was doing a lot of different PR this week. I mean, his PR week was stacked.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yep. Yeah, I thought he did a really good job.
Excellent job.
Promoting this fight, especially in Texas. And that's
you get the sense. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. That was it. Go ahead.
Oh, I said you get the sense that he really enjoys doing it too.
Yeah.
Like he even said to the press, he goes, "Thank you for coming out here. You know, I really enjoy doing this. You know, I'm happy that you guys came out." And this is what really struck me because I thought this was a really genuine statement he made. Because, you know, there's been many times when there've been fights here and no press has showed up. So he goes, so everyone came, people came from Vegas. He goes, and I'm very grateful that you all came out for me. It makes me feel good about myself. I think that was a humbling moment. And maybe I'm making too much of it, but I just like this kid, man. I just like this kid all around. I'm going to make a bold statement. He reminds me of Sugar Ray Leonard, like just the way he carries himself and inside and outside the ring, just the honesty in everything he says. He's not a bullshit artist. He's not braggadocious. He's confident, but he's not arrogant. You know what I mean? I just like the guy. I really do. Let me ask you this though. This was the first time that I think he's fought in his home, you know, his home area, his home state. Did very well his first time out. Obviously, you think if they bring him back, they can just continue to build on this, right? Eventually, maybe put him in a stadium. Maybe put him in a stadium. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but there does seem to be some upside here and some potential here. Am I wrong?
I agree. No, I agree 100%, man. I mean, you're looking at Texas as you know, not only with Spence, but then you got the two Charlo brothers right there too. So you have three fighters from Texas. All three can headline there, you know, and if you put one or two of those on the card together, I mean, that's a huge, I don't see any reason that this can't be like a New York, like the New York is for Deontay Wilder, or like, you know what I mean? Or like for Danny Garcia or somebody like that, you know, where he can't, you know, if you want to fight Spence Jr., come to Texas. Why not? You know, I really, I don't understand why not, because pretty soon he's going to be the money guy in the division.
Yeah, and you have access to 100,000 seat stadium that you could eventually use. So, you know.
Yeah. And you got who is it? Everybody is on your side of the street when you're talking about titles.
Yeah.
Right.
Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, they're right there. Where is Keith Thurman? I thought, wasn't he supposed to come back? Where is he now?
They pushed it back again.
He's been hiding. It's Keith no time Thurman. He doesn't want to fight anymore.
Do we have like an official, did he get injured again, or what's his deal?
Let me pull up the article that I read so I can find it, because thought he was supposed to come back in July. I think they pushed it back again. Let me just double check here.
Jeez.
So I can get the exact information.
Yeah, because he's one that, listen, man, if anybody should be stripped of a title, it's him.
Yeah, he's coming back August 4th now.
Who's he fighting?
Nobody.
John Smith. He's fighting the dude from the car wash.
So he's coming back.
The IBF can strip Triple G, but Keith Thurman gets to keep his title forever. Thank you, WBA.
Oh, it says he could be making his return to action on August 4th at the Brooklyn's Barclays Center.
Wow.
Could. The operative word here.
He could. Yeah.
Wow.
Strip his ass.
Yeah. Doesn't mention an opponent at all.
You strip Triple G, but the WBA lets him hang on to that title for dear life. Okay.
Yeah. Then when you Google him,
WBA is a fucking idiot. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
go in his box rec to see if anything's posted for the future. Yeah, it says August 4th, 2018 on his box rec with a TBA there. So there's no opponent.
TBA.
So it looks like tentatively August 4th at the Barclays. It looks like tentatively.
Is there anybody else August 4th at the Barclays? Is there like a big fight that day?
Is there any card lined up?
Fight?
Not to my knowledge.
Huh.
To my knowledge. Nope.
Wow.
No.
Georgie's going crazy in the chat. I guess he didn't like Errol Spence's performance. So
and then the Sean Porter fight with Danny Garcia is August 25th.
wow.
So it's both in the same month.
There you go.
I don't even know where that fight is. I would guess that may be in the Barclays too. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I would think so.
I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing that it may be in the Barclays process.
I think Danny beats him.
I hope.
I do too.
Yeah, I think Danny beats him.
Yeah,
I think he's just look for him. And Danny can put you away. He's got that pop, whereas Sean Porter's more of a break you down kind of fighter. He just kind of bull rushes in and
But on the other hand, I don't think Danny or Sean can handle Spence.
No.
I don't see it. I don't think so.
Not even close. And Spence will have 3 titles. Spence will have those 3 titles. But what was real interesting? I was looking at this. I think it's the WBA, if I'm not mistaken. So isn't Keith Thurman the WBA? And then underneath him is Lucas, right? But underneath him is the regular champion, which is Lucas Matisse, which then is Pacquiao. Underneath him and Pacquiao are going to fight, maybe.
Yeah, well, from what I heard, it's supposed to be July 15th for those two.
Well, isn't Pacquiao trying to get a fight with Lomachenko after this Matisse fight?
Oh, is that what he's doing?
That's what I heard. I don't know how true that is.
I know he doesn't. There's no way that Crawford fight is going to take place. But my point is they'll be the regular champion. So will Terrence Crawford go after that title and become the regular champion? Or what does that really mean?
No.
He might.
You can't have 2 WBA unified champions, can you?
I think if Pacquiao wins, and that's a big if, he may vacate that title.
Lucas Matisse could very well beat Pacquiao, guys. Who would ever thought that?
Yeah.
I think he's got a very good chance. He's got a very good chance.
What is Pacquiao still fighting for? Because he admittedly, according to Bob Arum, he said that Pacquiao said that he could not, that Terrence Crawford is too much for him right now. So if Terrence Crawford is too much for you, then I would have to assume that Errol Spence is too much for you.
Right.
And probably Danny Garcia and Sean Porter at this stage are too much for you too. So
Yeah.
what is the sense of fighting when you've been at such a high level, upper echelon level? You're a senator right now. You've been to the top of the mountain. What else is there left for you? I mean, does he need money? I don't know. What else? Why is he fighting right now? I mean, that Mayweather fight.
No idea.
That Mayweather fight made him over $100 million.
Well,
Why is this guy? Why is this guy still fighting?
Yeah, I read that the fight with Matisse is in trouble again because whoever
That's what I heard
was
too.
give the money never came through with the money.
The money hasn't been put up yet, Bob Arum.
Right, the money hasn't been put up yet, and it's supposed to be in Malaysia, but the money apparently hasn't been put up yet. So I don't know. Is Bob Arum involved in that one? I don't know.
That he's helping out. He said he's helping out.
Okay, because I know they kind of did this on their own.
Course,
I mean,
what is the trainer? Jojo? Is it not Jojo Diaz? What's the trainer in Southern California? The one that worked with Bradley. He's training Matisse, and he said, Matisse is looking good in camp. So
Joel Diaz.
yeah, what's he gonna say?
Joel Diaz, that's it.
And what's he gonna say? He looks horrible in camp. You know, it's his trainer. Of course.
No, he said yeah, I know.
You know, it's funny when you listen to these interviews. These guys will say, "Hey, the first question, how's training going?" Has a fighter ever said, "Hey, training sucks"? I'm having a horrible camp.
Looks terrible.
I mean, even if he's having a bad camp, is he going to tell? That's like when you walk up to someone, "Hey, how you doing today, buddy?" They could be having the worst day of their life. I'm all right. They're not going to tell you, "Hey, this happened, that happened." You know what I mean? It's like these questions. It's a random question, like, "How's training going?"
I can tell you how training's going. I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel great. You know.
Then after the fight is when you start hearing, I had a fractured wrist.
Right.
My ankle was killing me. Yeah, but so I mean, it's like, why even? I never asked that question. Never. I hate that. I hate that question.
That's funny. Well, you always see that, like, especially like on like the YouTube videos and stuff when guys go out to interview them and stuff. That's why I don't like doing interviews anyway, because you ask the question and they give you the same stuff over and over. You know, I mean, it's all programmed answers because they've been asked the same questions over and over. Even if you rephrase it, doesn't matter. No. Nobody's breaking any news there. No, you know, I mean, they're all pretty trained. Nobody's breaking any news.
That's right.
Let's talk about the undercard here. It was all right. It wasn't too bad. Danny Roman versus Moises Flores, Chucky Flores. 12 rounds for the WBA junior featherweight title. Now, Flores came in overweight, so he couldn't win the title, but it didn't really matter because he lost the fight pretty sound. Danny Roman beat Moises Flores by unanimous decision. Did a lot of good stuff in there, good body work, just busier. I thought, and it was a good fight. It was a real good fight. I mean, there was back and forth. Both guys were trying to win, but Roman, to me, was a clear winner here. I'm not sure he won every round, but it was clear. Scores were 116, 112, 118, 110, and 120, 108. Robert, what were your thoughts?
I thought Danny Roman did very well. I only gave Chucky a couple of rounds, and I like Roman's attitude afterwards. Jim Gray said, "Well, what do you want to do now?" He says, "Well, I want to unify," and he said, "If I got to go back to Japan to do that," he said, "I'll be glad to," because he won the title in Japan, and his first title defense was in Japan. So this was his second defense, and he said, "Hey, if necessary, I'll go back over there." But he did say he wanted to unify, and I thought he was a clear winner. So
there you go. Beeb, anything to add?
Flores just doesn't seem to do enough in these fights. He's just not as fluid with his punching as you would like him to be. Everything he seems to do is looking for that perfect shot a lot of times. He plods forward, but he just doesn't let his hands go. And I think in this fight, Roman was definitely the guy that was doing the higher quality of work. When they were in the pocket, he was busy. He was going to the body. He was trying to, just touch him. Whatever was there, he tried to take advantage of it. Whereas Flores, again, likes to land that one big shot that he's looking for that power shot, the home run all the time. And all the while he's doing that, his opponent is taking advantage of his inactivity. And I thought he got outworked in this fight. was hard pressed to give him more than 2 or 3 rounds in this fight, to be perfectly honest with you.
There you go. Javier Fortuna versus Adrian Granados, 10 rounds, junior welterweights. Fortuna had 2 points taken away in less than 4 rounds.
In the 4th round, the 2 points were taken away.
Yeah, I mean,
they both
that was crazy.
It's just insane. It's still
that was crazy.
In 4 rounds, you know.
That was crazy.
In the 4th round, both fighters tied up, and Fortuna fell, slightly pushed through the ropes, and hit his back on a table or something in the ring. I originally thought he hit his head. The announcers were saying he hit his head, but from the looks of it and from the angle I saw, he didn't. He was stretchered out of the ring. This was ruled a no decision. Adrian Granados once again falls on some hard luck here. Beeb.
Yeah, the poor guy.
Beeb, what were your thoughts here?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I still think Fortuna was winning the fight. And I think he was winning that round that he fell out of the ring. And to Granados' credit, he was using his physicality a lot. He was trying to muscle Fortuna, but Fortuna was being a little dirty with his actions. He was, sticking his forearm. At one point in the fight, he took his head, and you could clearly see that he was intentionally sticking his head in Granados' face. So he's intentionally headbutting him. Again, with the forearm and the neck, and trying to grab him and pull him down. So one of the points I thought in the 4th round was warranted, but then the second one kind of was a little bit too much. I didn't think that was warranted. One was enough, but I thought he was boxing well. He was using the ring well. Tried to keep this fight on the outside. Did not allow or tried to not allow Granados to work on the inside, but for the most part, I thought that Fortuna was pot-shotting well on the outside. He was using distance well. He was using his feet well. He kept circling away. He would land his shots up the middle, and then he would circle out to either side. He wasn't standing in front of Granados, and on the occasion when Granados was getting close to him, he was trying to grab him. He wasn't going to allow him to move his hands on the inside. But credit to Granados, he kept coming forward. And that's the thing about Granados, too. Like, you could look at him in a fight, and he may be getting hit. He may be getting hit, and you could see that maybe he's not being effective offensively. But he keeps coming forward, and he puts that pressure on his opponent, puts that mental pressure of, I'm hitting this guy with everything, and he keeps coming at me. So in that regard, he wears you out. He wears you out mentally and physically because you're landing your shots, and he keeps coming. He's relentless. And, you saw some of that in points in this fight. In the 4th round, he said that he felt as though he was coming on. But I still think that Fortuna was landing the sharper, higher quality shots. And when Fortuna fell out of the ring, I don't think he was really forced out of the ring. I thought it was the momentum. Because you see guys a lot of times, they'll try to lay on the ropes and use the ropes to hold themselves up. And I thought Fortuna, to some degree, was doing that. He basically was trying to sit on the bottom rope. But as he was sitting on the bottom rope, the ropes opened up on him, and he fell in between them. So I think he kind of miscalculated where his body was and how he was not really braced up against those ropes. And those ropes weren't really worth supporting him. He actually, I think, by sitting down, because as he was leaning back into the ropes, he kind of sat his body down, and his butt hit that bottom rope and opened it up a little bit. And just the normal ebb and flow of the fight with Granados coming forward and him trying to lean back away from Granados. I think more or less, I think he fell out of the ring due to his own fault more so than Granados. I don't think Granados really pushed him out at all, and I don't think he hit his head on anything. But you did see there was a severe whiplash of his neck. I think did you see that as well? Did you notice
hard?
that?
Yeah, he hit hard.
It was like when if anyone's ever been hit from behind in a car,
yeah,
that your heart, when you get smashed like that, you're not expecting it, and your neck goes back like that. That's painful. So I'm not gonna buy he tried to buy his way out of this fight, because in that run when those points were taken away, he came at Granados and he landed some good shots. He was winning the fight. I don't think Granados was taking control of this fight, although he was putting on that pressure. And it would have been interesting to see later in the fight if that would have slowed Fortuna down. But from when I was watching, I thought Fortuna was still winning the fight. Even with those points taken away, I thought he won four. He was winning that fourth round, and the only round I think you could make an argument for Granados was possibly the third, but I thought he clearly lost the first two, and he was on his way to losing the fourth. So for even with those 2 points, for him to say that he was winning or he thought that he was coming on, I understand that's a fair argument, but I just disagree with it.
Let me ask you a question. Was the right call made here in the sense that it was a no decision? He wasn't pushed out of the ring.
Yeah.
He was not pushed out of the ring. He fell out of the ring.
Yeah.
That's his own fault.
Yes.
It wasn't Granados' fault, or else he would have got a point taken away.
Yes.
It wasn't his fault. Was this the right call? A no decision?
I actually questioned it.
Yeah, I mean, right call. When you make a bonehead mistake and fall out of the ring.
Yeah, and I will be
punished to stay in.
Yeah, and the referee said it was incidental contact, so it was basically part of the action. But to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think Granados. I saw his own momentum of leaning back be the major culprit of him falling out of the ring.
Right.
And I think you could possibly agree with that. But I'm getting the sense that you're agreeing with that as well. So if it was me, I would have had him the loser, to be perfectly honest with you. As unfair as that sounds. Now, if it was incidental contact where, the guy, in the natural movement of the fight, one guy was coming forward and they were both wrestling and kind of mauling each other on the inside, and then one guy happens to fall out, then that's incidental contact. This to me was more so him leaning too much on the ropes himself, and his own momentum took him out of the ring and made him fall out of the ring more so than anything Granados did. So I honestly would have had him losing the fight because it was his fault that he fell out of the ring. Just like if you're in the ring and you sprain your ankle, even if that's due to incidental contact, the incident, and who's to say that, I'm not trying to make you sprain your ankle. That's not my intent, or your knee just blows out. So it's sort of like the Joe Smith situation with Bernard Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
That's a judgment call too. But I think that the right call was made there. So it's a judgment call. I can't hate what the referee did. And I can't, not with the referee, but I guess the referee ruled it was incidental contact. So he was a big determining factor on what happened. So he said there was contact with both fighters. So I can't hate what he did in his assessment because he's in there. He's got a different view than I have sitting at home. But in the same token, I could see it go the other way, and that's probably the way I would have went if it was me.
Right. All right, let's move on here. Across the pond, Chris George versus Josh Kelly, 12 rounds. They're welterweights. Josh Kelly beats Chris George with a 7th round TKO. George's corner would not let him continue. Josh Kelly continues to improve, looks pretty good. Beeb, I don't know if you saw these fights or not, but what were your thoughts on Josh Kelly?
Well, again, he's definitely a solid fighter. He's someone to look out for. I haven't been following him as closely as others have, but I've seen some of his fights, and I didn't actually watch these UK fights, but I like Josh Kelly. I think he's a tough kid, not a perfect fighter, but he's one of those guys that gets the most out of his ability. He's got a lot of heart. He's in great shape. He's a tough kid. He fights very well on the inside. He can fight a bit on the outside as well. But he's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not the hardest puncher in the world. Not the most athletic guy in the world. But he's sort of kind of well-rounded in every area. But he's just not excellent in any of the areas. Is he a dynamic fighter? No. But he's a hard worker with enough skill to get far, to go somewhere in this game. But there's still a lot left to see of this guy. The jury is still out. So am I ready to say that, he's going to be a killer? I don't know just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Lewis Ritson versus Paul Hyland Jr. Ritson wins in the first round over Paul Hyland. Hyland was down 3 times in the first round. Lewis Ritson is another up-and-comer, man. He looks pretty good. He's a fighting fighter, man. He looks pretty good. And Highland's a good fighter too. He's no pushover. I mean, so that was a really good win for him. This one was a little strange now. Joe Joyce versus Avika Bakurin, heavyweights. Joe Joyce wins via first round knockout, but this was a little fishy, man. Bakurin was a late sub. The knockout punch looked like it just grazed right off the top of Bakurin's head, and he just dropped down for the count. That was it. I mean, I don't know. Did you catch a highlight?
I didn't see. But there's a highlight reel out there for it.
Go look it up. Yeah, if you
I'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, because I like Joe Joyce. You know what I mean? I like Joe Joyce. I want to see him fight and everything. But that was man. When I saw that punch land, I was like, what?
Like Bruce Seldon against Mike Tyson.
Yeah, maybe he's got the heavy hands, man. I don't know. But he's got to have real heavy hands to get knocked out with that kind of punch.
Yeah, man.
It really literally just grazed the top of his head and he just dropped, man. And he never got back up. That was it. So hopefully we'll catch Joe Joyce back in the fold here. I mean, against some real competition, So we'll see what happens. And that pretty much does it for the fights this week.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about the rankings here real quick. Let's see here. Our rankings were updated, so that was great news. And if you go to 147, the championship is vacant. Okay, so Errol Spence is the IBF. You have Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. Errol Spence number 1, Terrence Crawford number 2, followed by Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Jeff Horn. I'm surprised that Jeff Horn is still so high up on the list. And
he needs to be out of there.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's still so high up on the list. Pacquiao and Matisse are right there together. Jesse Vargas over there. That's the one that really kind of stuck out. And why can't we have a champion there?
The champion's Errol Spence, guys. Come on.
Well, and Keith Thurman's not even on because he's been so inactive. He's got Matisse listed as a WBA champion, but
needs to be the same status.
Oh, you piling on Jeff Horn. What's the matter with you? Let's see here. And for 135, the World Championship again is vacant. Vasil Lomachenko, the WBA champ, is number 1. Mikey Garcia 2. Linares 3, and Robert Easter 4. Now listen, if Garcia wins and beats Easter, or vice versa, does that person become the champion? The world, the champion. Yeah, I think so too.
And why is Linares ranked 3rd? He lost.
Well, I think conventional wisdom says that they think Linares can beat Easter, which is why he's ranked above him. But Garcia,
I don't know.
Yeah, Garcia is going to fight Easter, but then you have Beltran at the WBO. That's the lightweight division's a mess. But Vasil Lomachenko will fight Ray Beltran, I would assume, next. Would you assume that, Joe?
Yep.
Possibly, yeah. That's a fair assessment.
That's kind of a no-brainer, especially with the unifications happening. So, yeah, to me, that would be a no-brainer. So, there you go. All right, let's go to the phones now. 805. 805,
hey,
you're
Nacho.
Live.
Hey, what's going on, gang?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much.
Not much. As far as the fights last night, the Fortuna Granados fight, I thought that I kind of agree with Beeb. I thought Fortuna was outboxing Granados because Granados wasn't really landing much in the first few rounds, and I thought Fortuna won the first few rounds, but the point deductions that they took away for him trying to headbutt and spear Granados, I think made it a closer fight than it was. That being said, I agree with you guys. I didn't understand that call because Granados was being held by Fortuna. He was grabbing his arms, and what Granados was trying to do was shake free of the hold. So for Fortuna to let go of the hold, sit down on the rope, and then fall out of the ring, I don't understand how that becomes a no decision at that point. Like, that rule doesn't make any sense. If one guy is free of the other, and the other guy ends up falling out of the ring pretty much on his own, by his own momentum, that rule doesn't make sense to penalize one guy versus the other.
No.
So, and then what was really interesting was they said before the fight started that anything, if something happens 4 rounds or later, you can score the fight and actually make it an official decision. And unfortunately for Granados, he was 10 seconds away from that happening when they stopped the fight. So it was just kind of a weird, congruence of things that happened. But I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't think I want to see that fight again, just because it was kind of like a stay busy fight for Fortuna. Apparently he told Showtime that he wasn't planning on staying at 140, that he's planning on going back down to 35, which is probably the right move. So I think you just chalk this up to, it was what it was and just move on. It doesn't make any sense to have a rematch or anything. The Roman Flores fight, I give Roman a lot of credit. He went in there and he fought a guy who was a lot bigger than him, who obviously couldn't make weight, and he pretty much put it on him, but he wasn't able to hurt Flores at any point because Flores was just that much bigger, and he was able to absorb the beating for 12 rounds. But he looked good. He landed his shots when he had to. He hit him to the body and to the head, all night. And I think that kid would definitely be interesting to see him in a unification against either Dogbo or Ray Vargas or the Japanese fighter that has the IBF title. I wouldn't mind seeing that kid fight again. He was entertaining enough that you would want to see him again. As far as the main event, it was like Robbie said last week when I heard the podcast. I didn't get a chance to call in, but like I told you guys previously when the fight was announced, I just didn't think Ocampo was ready for that fight. And it showed. I mean, you could see the difference between both guys. Spence was just that much bigger, and he looked like a middleweight, and Ocampo looked like, even though unofficially he weighed more than Spence, he just looked like a small junior middleweight in there. And I mean, I give Ocampo credit. He didn't fight scared. He tried to, hang with Spence, and he hit Spence with a couple of decent shots, but it was just those body shots that, did him in, and poor guy just didn't know what hit him. He wasn't able to do anything. Once that happened, it was pretty much over. But I think the kid, he showed a lot of heart trying to stay in there and fight. I wouldn't mind seeing him, come back and fight some guys who are closer to being on his level, because that title shot was definitely he wasn't ready for that, and it showed last night. I don't know if you guys saw, there was another fight last night. It was on BN Sports with Jose Cepeda and Carlos Diaz. I think that fight was the fight of the weekend. Both guys went at it and they hurt each other, and Diaz dropped Cepeda at the end of the 4th and looked like he was going to stop him, but he was able to make it out of the round. And then Cepeda came back and basically hurt him and ended up stopping him. And something happened that I've never seen in a fight before. The guy gets counted out and he ends up throwing up while the referee's counting. Yeah. So I've never seen that before in a fight. So I thought that was pretty crazy. I was like, oh, wow.
I remember
it was a really entertaining fight.
Larry Holmes threw up at the end of the Holyfield fight, but it was like at the end of the round, he was walking back to his corner and he threw up. I remember that in the Holyfield fight. But yeah, not during the count.
Okay.
Not during the count.
It was an MMA fighter that actually shit himself.
Before.
Yeah, there's been a couple times that happened, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Crazy.
You guys were talking about the Porter Garcia fight. That fight scheduled to take place either August 25th or September 1st, from what I've read. So
it's on BoxRec for October 24th.
Supposedly.
Yeah, it's already set up on BoxRec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys were also talking about the Pacquiao-Matisse fight. From everything I've been hearing, they're having a lot of issues, and they don't know if that fight's going to end up happening now.
Right.
Apparently, some of the funding and some of the money hasn't been put out there to pay like the venue and
Yeah, that's
and
what we're hearing, yep.
some other stuff, and they don't know if it's even going to go through. So that'll be very interesting if that fight ends up being pulled off.
Manny should just retire. He's got nothing to fight for.
Yeah.
You would think so, Robbie, but unfortunately, that guy I used to know a guy who was a sparring partner back when he was fighting at 130 and 135 pounds. And he would always tell us these stories about Manny and his like reckless spending. And apparently that hasn't changed. Apparently that guy goes through money like water. So that's the only reason why he's still hanging around and fighting. And I had a feeling that was going to happen too, because you just hear these stories about, our friend told us that Manny invited him to his birthday party about 8-9 years ago in the Philippines. And everybody who was there got free bottles of alcohol, like to each and every guest who was at his party. He gave them free bottles of alcohol, and he gave them like free gift bags for attending his birthday party.
How did we get
I
on
was
that
kind
list?
of like, wow,
Yeah, right?
like
How did we get
really?
on that list?
And he was just saying that this dude just goes all out, and he basically was blowing his money on partying and
Well, Ray Beltran a house.
like
That sounds like Robbie's parties, you know?
Yeah.
You hear about when he bought Ray Beltran a house during that 24/7? Bought Ray
What's
Beltran a house. He bought Ray Beltran a house when Ray Beltran was his sparring partner.
That's insane.
Yeah. So that's always been Manny's problem, is that he's too generous, and he spends money like it's going out of style, like he thinks it's never going to run out. That's always been his problem. Yeah. So that's the only reason why.
No wonder the IRS wants to get their hands on him. No wonder why he doesn't want to fight in the States anymore.
Exactly. That's why. It's because of the Mayweather payout that he got. He got so much money out of that one fight that he knew that he was going to have to pony up a significant chunk to the U.S. government, and he said, forget it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's always been his biggest issue from what I've always heard, is that he just loves to spend money like he thinks it's going out of style. So, I mean, that's the only reason why the guy's hanging around now, you know? He's just trying to get paid as much as he can. But, yeah, I agree with you. He should have retired probably even before the Horn fight. I thought he should have retired.
Oh, of course, before that, yeah.
And there was a couple other fights that happened this weekend too. You guys were talking about one of them. I saw the Josh Kelly fight. He looked good, and they're moving him. They're moving him well, considering, he's not fought. He hasn't even fought 10 fights, but they're moving him along really well. I think the kid is talented, but at some point they're going to have to put him in there against a guy who's a real threat. It seems like they're putting him in there against a lot of journeymen or kind of mid-level guys that he just seems to be way more talented than. I really want to see him fight a guy who's like an ex-contender or even an ex-champion, to see more or less where he's really at, because
he's tall too, huh?
Keep putting him in with he outclasses them. So it would be interesting to see him fight somebody who's, got a little bit more.
Yeah, he's only got 7 fights, though. He's only got 7 fights.
Yeah,
but do you think he uses his height enough, though? He's a tall kid. You think he uses his height enough?
5'10".
You know what? You're right. I think he tends to
slug it out on the inside a lot.
On his punches a lot.
Yeah.
Like he moves a lot. He moves a lot when he's fighting. He tends to move a lot around a ring, and he doesn't really sit down on his punches. He tries to be really slick in there a lot of times, and that's kind of, I think, one of his biggest problems, is that he doesn't sit down on his punches enough. He just likes to move around and stick and move. Like they just got to get him to sit down on his punches a little more. Like I said, the kid's talented, but I mean, he has a whole lot of amateur experience. So this isn't a guy who I think needs like 20, 25 fights before you get him ready for a title shot. I think the way they're moving him, he'll probably be getting a title shot in probably less than 15 fights. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think at some point you got to step him up even a little further, because the guys he's fighting are guys who are not on his level.
Yeah.
They're either old journeymen or they're mid-level guys who he's still better than.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get him some better competition. But, you know, the kid's talented, but for sure, I'd like to see him eventually fight somebody who can actually legitimately fight back, because he fights these guys and he just outclasses them. Like this Chris George dude was undefeated and hadn't lost, but he made him look like a complete amateur yesterday. The guy had no business being in the ring with Taylor. So, yeah. And then as far as the fights this weekend, guys, I'm picking Burchell to beat Barrios. I don't think Barrios is a real 130-pounder, and I think Burchell, you know, should do what he has to do. He should win that fight, and he probably stops him in, like, you know, 7 or 8 rounds. And then the card that I'm kind of interested in seeing is that Frank Warren card where Daniel Dubois and Anthony Yard are fighting.
Yeah.
This weekend. I definitely want to see those guys, because I think those two guys look like they have star written all over each one of them.
Absolutely.
And I just like to see, you know, see how well they do. And as far as I'm glad Martin Murray got a fight after getting screwed by Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, Roberto Garcia isn't exactly a great opponent, but I mean, I think it should be an entertaining fight while it lasts.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
Yeah.
All right, Nacho. We're gonna get running here, man. Thank you so much for the call.
Yeah, thank you for the call, man.
All right. Let's move on here. Let's go to area code 408. Robert, is that on the California number?
Yeah, that's San Jose.
Look at Robert, man.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good. Who are we speaking to?
Oh, that's good, man. My name's Jake, man. I've been listening to you guys for quite some time, man. I've been wanting to call in, but usually when I catch you guys, it's like after the live shows already went on. But yeah, man, I really appreciate
welcome to the show, Jake.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Been listening to you guys for quite some time, but
we appreciate it.
This weekend, man, we had some good fights. You know, most of them pretty one-sided, but you know, a decent weekend for boxing is better than nothing. But yeah, you know, Errol Spence, man, I really like this guy a lot. Like you guys touched on earlier in the show, he's a very likable person. He's just kind of got that kind of aura about him, like he's a good role model for like kids, and you know, he's just a good guy.
Right.
And I wish nothing but success to the guy. I reached out to the guy on social media, man, and he messaged me, this was about a year and a half ago, wanted my address and sent me a signed T-shirt in the mail, man. The guy's like super nice. Awesome. But with that being said, I'm rooting for the guy. I really do. I think he could be a star, but I still think the guy's kind of unproven. I mean, that's kind of the thing with a lot of these welterweights is, I mean, he beat Kell Brook. That's his best win, in my opinion. And a lot of people forget, man, the first half of that Kell Brook fight, he was kind of struggling against Kell. The first half. It took him about 6 rounds to start coming on.
Well, that fight showed Jake he could make adjustments during the middle of a fight and found a way to come back and actually win. I think he'll get fights where he can show how good he really is, because now where he's at, I mean, he's obviously going to fight the winner of Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. He'll eventually get a hold of Keith Thurman. I think we will get all of our questions answered if there's still any answer. But frankly, I don't think there is. I think he's the best in the division.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely passes the eye test. You know, what was it, like his 8th consecutive knockout last night? I mean, he definitely passed. I always think it's funny, man. I tell people all the time, you know, this guy's like knocking out, I mean, pretty much subpar, you know, talent aside from the Kell Brook where he won his championship. And, you know, people are like, oh, he's so feared, he's this killer and stuff like that. But when Triple G was fighting mandatories, and knocking everybody out. Well, he's unproven, he's untested. All he's doing is fighting bones.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that people make that. You know, I don't understand why this guy's getting different treatment than that.
In Triple G's thing, a lot of people hate Golovkin. We get people that call up here all the time and complaining about the level of his opponents, and he makes it look too easy, and you know. But yeah, you're right. With Errol Spence, it's a different dynamic, and I think one of the reasons is Errol Spence actually talks to people and shows he's a normal guy. Where Triple G, you have the language barrier, you know.
Right.
So he comes off completely different to people.
Right. No, I hear you for sure. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when he steps up in competition. I really like to see him fight the winner of Garcia and Porter. I think that's a really good matchup. Whoever he fights, I mean, both of those styles are completely different. I actually expect Garcia to beat Porter.
Oh, so I think that's a no doubter. I like Sean as a fighter, but I think Danny's just too much for him.
Yeah, I do too, man. I think Danny will win, and then Danny and Spence, that's a great barometer fight to see if Spence is everything that I know. We like to give Keith a lot of flack, and I mean, the guy's warranted. The guy's not fighting, you know, and I totally agree with you. They need to be stripping him of his titles because he's completely absent and anything like that. But at the same time, I think you'd be hard pressed to name another welterweight that's done what Keith has done. Keith fought 2 tough fights back to back. He fought Porter and then he fought Garcia, and he beat them both. So, you know, I mean, if this guy's in the ring and he's in top shape, I mean, I don't know, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I know it seemed like ever since he got married to that lady, like he's just been kind of like, you know, MIA and not really too much interested in fighting anymore. But yeah,
I honestly think at this point he really doesn't care about his boxing career. He's got things too good at home, man.
It seems like it. It definitely seems like it. I mean, I think that you know, the ultimate showdown, if everything goes right, is going to be Crawford and Spence, and that fight, to me, that's a 50-50 fight, man. I really don't know who will win that fight because Crawford's got so many weapons to beat you. Switch hitter, he can brawl, he can box on the outside. But this guy Spence, man, he's got some really powerful, like, inside game, as we saw last night. I mean, I know Ocampo wasn't on his level or anything like that, but power is power. I mean, if you hit a guy, you know, with a shot like that and drop him to the ground, I mean, it's something to be something to take note of. But you know, I hear you guys on here every week, and I just one of the reasons I want to call in. I know you guys are just shitting on this freaking ESPN app all the time. Every time I hear you guys every week, you're just shitting on the app, and I'm telling you, I was the exact same way, but until I tried the app. Now I'm like all about that. Now I get it. If you're just a 100% boxing fan, that's all you do is watch boxing, then, you know, the app's probably going to be kind of useless to you outside of, you know, I think Beeb touched on it last week, the library that they have.
That library is insane. Oh, it's insane.
And the 30 for 30s are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like that too.
All the 30 for 30s on there. But, you know, I mean, I think it's warranted. I think that, you know, we're giving the ESPN a lot of flack. We're giving Top Rank a lot of flack for this, but, you know, more and more people are starting to go toward an a la carte type system with their programming. I mean, I know I spend, you know, over $200 a month on a cable bill.
Yeah, I
probably
do too.
80% of the programming on the program I don't watch.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's probably going to take some time, but I can definitely see it's going to be like, you know, back in the day when they were talking about, oh, you know, blockbusters are going to go out, and people were like laughing. Oh no, blockbuster will never live. I think it's going to be kind of similar to that. You know, I can definitely see in the next 10 years, you know, people are just going to be buying the program that they want and streaming the program that they want. So I think they're trying to get a leg up on it. And $5 a month, it's not bad. But I think it's more useful to you if you're a sports fan all around.
Well, I am a sports fan all around, and I agree with what you're saying. But I'm old-fashioned. I want my stuff on my TV. You know, that's just who I am.
Chromecast it, Robert.
100%, Robert.
Apple TV, Robert.
Come on, Robert. Get
Roku streaming stick, Robert.
It is.
I know.
Jake, can I?
Yeah, if you watch your video stream with you guys, I see all of you guys got live video streams except Robert. So I mean,
he's got to get in the game.
Oh, tell him, Jake.
Tell him, Jake.
Some things are changing, my friend.
I know they are, but that's okay.
Come out of the cave, son.
Get out of there, caveman.
Great job. I appreciate the show, man. I think I've listened to probably about 2 or 3 different podcasts, and you guys are one of my favorites. So I appreciate the work, guys.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jake, and thank you for the
Don't
call,
be a stranger.
man.
Call back again, man.
Absolutely.
We always like to hear from new people.
Banger.
Hopefully.
I'm sorry. I think I might have cut him off. I'm sorry about that. Jake, I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much for the call. And definitely call back in, man. We appreciate you listening and everything like that. And Jake, by the way, and I know he's still on the line here, got a confession to make. I have a confession to make. I did break down and get the ESPN app because I'm a big soccer fan as well. They have all the USL games on there. They have some MLS games on there. So we've been watching it all the time. So it is kind of cool.
Well, Eric, now that you have it, what is your opinion of it?
Well, I was going to give it to you before you interrupted.
Okay.
So
all right.
Basically what it is, so like if you're in like different kind of sports, and it's not Top Rank charging $5, it's ESPN charging $5. So there's the differential there. But they got soccer on there. They have, like you said, the 30 for 30s, and like Beeb was saying earlier, the library there is amazing. They have the Top Rank library. I mean, yeah, you can watch like all kinds of fights from it, which is really, really a cool feature. The Terrence Crawford fight, his recent one was on there. It's really neat, you know. So there's a lot of stuff. If you're a fight fan and everything, there's a lot of stuff on there to watch. But again, if you're a sports fan, if you like soccer, if you like whatever, they've got everything on there. So it is kind of cool. And you can watch the events live. And the cool thing about it, and I was talking to Beeb, I'm not sure if I told you or not, but you can also watch multiple events live. So it's not just like one channel and one thing's on live. There's multiple things going on live. You can have multiple games on there live. So that's kind of cool. So if you're watching a game, you don't particularly like that game, or it's out of hand, you can switch it to another game that's on and watch that. So that's what the cool part to me about it. You know what I mean?
Or you can pop open a tablet and a smartphone or a smart TV at the same time and watch 2 different things, baby.
There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, and then also too, like you said, with the Chromecast and everything like that, Apple TV, if you have it on your phone, you can go and just put that right on your TV. So it's good, man. So all right, let's go back to the phones here. And it's that time.
Oh, here's Al Heyman. He's a fucking mental case is what he is.
Robert.
Banger!
Hey, talk down on Al Heyman. You better be thankful he gave you something to talk about today. You fucking prick.
Oh, God.
Without
Come on, it's Father's Day.
Without Al
you
Heyman.
talk to him like that on Father's Day. Are you kidding me?
Al Heyman's keeping the lights on. You guys better believe it.
Al Heyman's keeping the lights on.
Kind of funny. Weekend after weekend, we're seeing bigger crowds at PBC events, and they're supposed to not know how to promote and shit, but going into experts like Nacho and Steve Kim. 3 or 4 events, at least in a row, there have been more tickets sold than Top Rank events at PBC events, but they don't know how to promote. So that's another racist fucking myth that's just going down the drain day after day, week after week that we see on national TV.
Loma didn't sell more than.
How is that racist?
Hold on. Loma didn't sell more than Broner or Spence or Wilder. Crawford didn't sell more than him. None of these top rank events are selling more than Broner or Wilder or Spence. So I mean, that myth just needs to be fucking stopped by guys like Nacho. You know, they come over here week after week talking about PBC doesn't know how to do this and that, even though he didn't say that today. Also, Nacho's like, Spence just looks so fucking bigger. How the fuck is Spence bigger when Ocampo is the taller guy and weighs 6 more pounds than Spence?
Well, he said that.
That is some fucking bullshit. That's another myth that people call Spence a weight bully, and Ocampo is 6 pounds heavier and taller than him. So that's another myth that just kind of got destroyed this weekend.
Yeah, but I
never heard this weight bully fucking myth before when Floyd was here. When Floyd was fighting guys like Canelo and Maidana, where was these fucking weight bully rants from people? Were people ever complaining about Maidana and Canelo being weight bullies? I don't remember that shit at all. I don't even remember that fucking term when Floyd was fighting. Guys like Margarito were fucking legendary Mexican weight bullies. I never heard anybody complain about that. Fucking Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a fucking legendary weight bully his whole fucking career. Where were these people at? Talking about weight bullies. I mean, I never heard any fucking Mexicans complain about these Mexican fighters being so huge for the weight. Never. I never heard anybody. Now, I guess guys like, since Jacobs fucking gave GGG a tough fight, this weight bully term just came into effect like all over. It's either Spence or Jacobs, they're getting called weight bullies and shit. I don't hear that shit about anybody else except black champions. I promise you, I never heard about anybody else.
I've never heard that until you said that today, Jason. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
No, but all over social media, it's a new term. I don't remember it being so huge in the social media world when Floyd was fighting. I don't remember people complaining and saying Maidana's 15 pounds heavier than Floyd. Did anybody ever complain?
Beeb, you're on social media along with myself. Have you heard anybody call Errol Spence a weight bully?
Hundreds of fucking comments I see every day.
Where are you? Maybe you want to
all over YouTube, like all the channels I've visited, everybody's calling him a weight bully on Instagram, on fucking YouTube. What are you talking about? You don't hear that?
No, I don't.
Beeb, you don't see it? You haven't seen people talk about it or say it?
Beeb has stepped away.
Sometimes I don't know where people come up with stuff.
I know. I'm not saying you guys say it, but it is like a talking point for Spence. He's a weight bully, and he doesn't get drug tested. When Spence said at the press conference, he just got drug tested before he came out here. So there's a lot of bullshit going on. Also, I didn't really like the card. I thought they could have done a better job. The undercard fights were kind of shitty to me, both of them. Fortuna came he came to just get a paycheck because he only made like $50K last time. He looked like he didn't even want to fight. And the other undercard, it was pretty underwhelming.
I don't know. I didn't hate the undercard.
Also, I didn't like the arena setup. It feels like the people were so far away. The arena, like the crowd, you couldn't really hear the crowd much. Kind of like you do at Barclays because they're right above you. It was like a huge ass fucking arena. And they said like they sold 12,000 tickets or something. It didn't sound like really loud like it does sometimes with Barclays. If you where did Beeb go?
I'm right here. Would you ask me a question?
Beeb, did you not hear what we were talking about earlier? Did you cut out?
I think he was just not listening to your nonsense.
I was actually had to take a call. I took the headphones off and put the mic on mute. I heard you talking about weight.
I hear a lot of these people on the internet calling Spence a weight bully. Don't you see those kind of comments on the internet and Instagram? People calling Spence a weight bully? Sometimes, yeah. But I mean, I see all types of crazy shit. Go ahead. I see all types of crazy shit on the internet. Everyone comes up with these new terms, and it's the one thing that kills me more than anything is how Triple G got old overnight, right? But when Floyd was 35, 36, he was still fighting and he was successful. And then Canelo, when Canelo fought Floyd was 36. So instead of saying, hey, Floyd's getting up there in age, he's out of his prime, the narrative was that Canelo was green. But and then Floyd waited for guys to get older. But now, didn't Canelo wait for Triple G to get older? Didn't Canelo wait for Triple G to show a little chink in the armor? So you're never going to get away from these double standards. Yeah, also, I was going to say, when Floyd was fighting guys like Maidana, did you ever remember them calling Maidana or Canelo a weight bully? Nope, never. Never, right? Nope. That I don't even remember that term back in 2015 and 2016. This term just came. You remember after the Jacobs fight, he missed that second or the day of the weigh-in, and they started calling him a weight bully. That's when it started. You remember that? Yeah, I do. Guys like Steve Kim pushing it all day long with the fucking hashtags weight bully, all this shit. And people are talking about Spence is a weight bully. Ocampo is a taller guy, and he outweighed him by 6 pounds last night.
But the thing
No
is
one's gonna
this:
talk about that.
the scary thing about Spence is this guy like is ripped like all year round. Like
Yeah.
even when he rehydrates, he's shredded to the bone. The thing he's just so muscular. This kid, like, because he's so cut and muscular, I think he's more physically imposing, looking wise, than a lot of these guys. Because when you look at Ocampo, he just doesn't have the same muscular frame that Spence has. That's the difference. Like Spence is shredded.
Yeah, did you see him at the weigh-in?
Yeah, he was like 162, 163, I think, last night. And Maidana and Canelo were
shredded
when they fought.
He's
Like
shredded.
167.
He's just as cut as he is at the weigh-in when he rehydrates. The guy's got no body fat on him. He's like shredded.
He told Fred from Barbershop Conversations he walks around at 165 a lot of the time. Sometimes he'll go up to 175 if he doesn't have a fight, but 165 to 170 he's walking around. Mikey Garcia told Ellie Segmag he walks around at 170 to 180 sometimes. He gets up to 180. That's Mikey, and he fights at 135. Talk about a fucking weight bully.
That's your boy.
I can't picture Mikey Garcia walking around at 180. He's only 5'7".
He said it on video himself, like when he was hanging out. He said I can walk around to 170 plus sometimes. So
Beeb can get up to 224 on a bad day.
That video has like 800,000 views. You should Google it. Mikey Garcia, 170 pounds. It'll come up.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks for the tip.
And also, Beeb, while you were gone, we were talking about you know how they said PBC doesn't know how to promote? Then how come Broner, Wilder, Spence, all these guys are outselling Lomachenko, Crawford, and everybody on Top Rank? Can you explain that to me? If they don't know how to promote, how are these guys selling more tickets?
Well, I'm going to tell you something I heard. I can actually read the tweet that I retweeted today. And tell me what you think of this. You're going to get a kick out of this. Let me pull up this tweet that I read today. It's from Michael Benson.
Tell me.
It says, Tom Loeffler confirmed there will not be any face-off program for Canelo Triple G rematch, as the fighters don't want to see each other. No pressers until fight week. What do you think of that?
Beeb, you're breaking up. Beeb, you broke up the whole. You got to say it again. You broke up.
All right.
Let's talk about it afterward. Let's talk about it afterward.
All right.
Because he's breaking up.
No. Let him talk, dude. Let him say it.
No.
Go ahead, Beeb.
He's done. Go on with your next point. What's it? So,
yeah, Beeb, why do you think these PBC fights are selling more than Top Rank and Golden Boy fights? Why do you think that is?
I think it's all about the event, really, to be honest with you. If the event is and I will say this.
Not really, Beeb. The Spence versus Ocampo isn't a huge event. Wilder versus Stavern wasn't a huge event.
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. You interrupted me before I finished my point. I thought Errol Spence did a great job this week, and I mentioned it earlier, and Eric also said it. He did a great job of really promoting this fight. He was really interacting with the fans, interacting with the community, and I credit that to Spence, to be perfectly honest with you, and not taking.
I think his last performance against Peterson, where he sold 12K, that had a lot to do with it too. I mean, people were impressed with that too.
And not taking anything away from Crawford, but you need to take a page out of Spence's book on what Spence did for this fight.
Right.
I think
Crawford didn't even talk to the media. Remember, he with the Australian media.
He talked to the media. He just turned it with Australians.
That's what I just said.
He don't want nothing to do with the media.
Dude, that's a fucking lie. That's a fucking lie, Robbie. Don't repeat these lies like Steve Kim. He was just on ESPN 2 days ago. He was on ESPN First Take, and then he went to thisis50.com to talk to 50 Cent his website. Like, he's doing media. I mean, come on, man. That's not right. He might not kiss Steve Kim's ass like you guys want him to, but whatever. I mean, that's his fucking personality. And he's selling 10,000 tickets. No, he sold less than Lomachenko. So I mean, these guys, they need some lessons from PBC how to promote them, because everybody's always shitting on PBC's promotion abilities. I just want people to be fair. If you're gonna shit on PBC for not being able to promote, then shit on Top Rank for selling less than PBC. I mean, that's the natural thing, right? If you're gonna shit on PBC for not being able to sell tickets, and Top Rank is selling less and Golden Boy is selling less, then you got to shit on them even worse. That's all I want them to do.
So Jason, stick around.
Other good fights coming up. Any other good fights coming?
Yeah, we'll go over them here in a minute.
Jason, stick around because we are going to bring up.
Besides Mikey versus Easter.
We are going to bring up what I was talking about earlier. Eric and I and Robbie, we're going to have a discussion about it. So stick around and comment in the chat what you think about it.
Right.
Eric made a good point.
Michael Benson.
Eric made a good point. It is one of the topics for the show. We'll save it for later.
Right. All right, man. We're going to keep moving here.
All right, thanks, Steve.
All right, Jason.
God, what a life. You spend all day reading junk
I'll
on.
tell you, it's entertaining. If anything, it is entertaining, man. It's like a reality show. I agreed with a lot of what he said today, though. So
yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Today he actually made great points. I gotta give it to him. When he does well, I gotta tell him he did well.
But the part about the racist thing, I don't know what he was talking about.
I can't touch that one with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, right.
I know that's ridiculous. I frankly hate his phone calls. I can't stand them.
And he's got the nicest things to say about you, Robert. I tell you what.
Oh God,
he's always very complimentary of you. Very complimentary of you.
I mean, you have to talk about the events when they happen. And frankly, Errol Spence did a wonderful job last night.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. All right.
And we're not a one-sided podcast, despite what he says. I mean, we cover everything.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
All right.
Georgie, follow that up, and God, I hope you do better than he just did.
Hey, what's happening, people? Robbie, baby, you're not gonna like my quote too much, D. Not really. Did I catch you saying, Robbie, did my ears deceive me? Why catch you saying that was a fantastic performance? Oh no, you say magnificent performance.
No, I said he's the number one man in the division, and he did what he was supposed to do.
I thought you did say magnificent performance too.
No, he didn't say. He said stupendous. Really, he said stupendous performance.
Garbage. We got our aim, and this is your fucking Jason. I don't know what the fuck this nigga smoking, bro. Legendary Troll is something wrong with him. So we got our Heyman putting 2 dives, straight up dives, bro. Fortuna go there, take a dive. Then we got Bambi Legs against the other dude. That's an amateur fight. And then in the main event, another dive. And we praising that.
No, I don't think Campo took. I don't think Campo took a dive, Georgie. That was a legitimate punch.
That son of my bitch went there for a paycheck. You know it. The IBF know it. The world knows it.
Georgie,
That's in competition to start with.
You ever been hitting the liver?
What you gonna do?
You ever been hitting the liver?
Baby, I got hit with everything in life. I don't mean anything.
What's wrong with a bulletproof vest? It's not gonna hurt him. Got a Kevlar.
That was a legitimate punch.
Yeah.
Eric, I've been getting hit with this fucking pie bats in the face.
You've been getting hit with losses from me left and right, son. That's what you've been getting hit with. You wishing you're the champ, begging to see my belt. Over there begging in the chat like you had a cup out, talking about, let me see the belt again. Let me see the belt. Son, that belt is on ice. And you know where it's on ice? Right here in my house, baby. And you know where it's going to stay? Right here. It ain't going nowhere, son.
You can't deal with the mean streets of Lawrence,
son.
You can't deal with Lawrence.
The contract. I'm calling my lawyer.
Contract.
Somebody called the commission. The man refusing to fight for the belt. He should be stripped immediately.
Well, George, what fight is coming up on the schedule that you want to make him have a title defense?
Well, something competitive, it's not really, it's on the horizon. It's not really coming,
I gave you, you know what? I don't want to hear it. You don't want to take any fights. I gave you Ocampo last night. I was taking Spence. I gave you Ocampo. You didn't want to take it. What am I supposed to do? You didn't want to take that fight.
It's a mismatch. Baby, I'm a knowledgeable boxing fan. I know a mismatch when I see one.
Okay, Georgia, I got a fight for you. How about Mikey Garcia against Robert Easter?
I'm taking Garcia in that fight. I'm taking Garcia.
Oh my God, I taking Mikey all day long with my eyes closed.
I'm taking him too.
You think Harry gonna take that? You think Harry gonna take that? Go ahead, Harry. Come on.
It's in California. He ain't winning that fight in California. They're not giving him the nod there.
No.
Oh, now it's California. You know what's gonna happen, Joe boy. The so-called side of town gonna get exposed again. Exposed.
It was a bad thing.
Bro. Okay, what about Canelo and Triple G? Is that the title defense?
I got Porter versus DSG. And Eric's docking
Too far in advance. I can't bet on that now.
You're the only one I know that's going to take Sean Porter because we're all taking Danny Garcia, brother.
Why don't you and Robbie Pie bet? How many title shots do you get? You should have to work your way back up the ladder because you've been humiliated a bunch of times by myself.
I'm the biggest competition you got.
You're the biggest competition.
No, nobody stepping up.
Hey, we got to give him a chance.
Been scared of you.
We got to give him a chance.
Scared of you.
I think you and Robbie ought to do a pie bet.
I got to draw with you, so what's good?
You and Robert ought to do a pie bet.
Here,
The winner gets to face the champ, son.
What, Eric? Let's talk the bullshit. You making it official or what?
Ain't making nothing official yet.
Cricket. Silence. Flip the man.
We're making nothing official yet.
Eric, you're not taking Danny Garcia in this fight? I'm surprised.
It's too early, man. It's too early. The fight's still a ways away.
Come on, Eric. Come on.
You guys cut up on that miss of 140.
I'm leaning toward Garcia.
Really?
I'm definitely leaning toward Garcia.
Listen, let me
pull the trigger already. Pull the trigger.
Yo, let me
jump in here and take it.
When you go from 140 to 147, that's a different animal. That separates the little guys from the middle guys. That's a big jump. There's only another jump on fucking boxing that is just as tangible, something that you can feel it, which is from 160 to 168. Those
175 to 200.
What the fuck you did before? What?
175 to 200. That jump from light heavyweight to cruiser. That's no joke, baby.
That's a jump.
Yeah, that ain't no joke. But that don't happen that often. That don't happen that often. Most of the time, it's guy coming up from 140 to 147. That's more in the spotlight of the history of boxing. That transition there. And a lot of people, when they go through that transition, my dude, most of them don't make it. Only the big stars. So if DSG Porter, yeah, I'm going to put that motherfucker up there. But in the meantime, I see Porter just plowing through dude. Plowing through him. Fucking DSG flat foot as fuck. He ain't running.
When it gets closer, I'll tell you this.
You ain't punching either because he's not going to let you punch.
When it gets closer, we'll make it official. When it gets closer, we'll make it official.
Doc.
Offer him the 50 million. Offer him the 50 million, Georgie, like Joshua.
That's right. That's right. That's the only way I'm going to do it, And then he's going to come up with it, but I'll find another way out of it.
Whoa. We don't have to be poking the bear here. What we bringing AJ into the conversation? $50 million. When we know there was an offer of $12.5 million first. But that eludes people's mind. That eludes it. Well, they should have took that $12.5 million when he got a chance. But he got people out there fucking talking on his ear, telling him that he got some type of negotiation power when he never had one. Never. He should have took that 12.5. But now 2 weeks passed along, he want to come out looking like, yeah, take everything. Nigga, you should, if you really want to fight, you should have took the fucking 12.5 from the go. It should not be no more conversation, if that, blah, 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 none of that shit.
You got a point.
Exposed. I want to hear nothing about that.
Got a point.
So pretty much my call Eric is docking me. I'm the true champ. And I'm going to get my belt.
It's never going to be your belt. Never going to be your belt.
I'll have the contract drawn up very shortly, Georgia. He'll sign it.
Joel Lopez in the chat just said Eric's promoter is Eddie Hearn. Oh. All right, Georgie.
Oh,
see you, George. That's a good call.
Great.
Wow.
All right. And to follow that up, we're going to actually, you know what? Yeah, let's go to 718. 718, you are almost
Hey, that's
live.
Suleiman. That's Suleiman.
Is that Suleiman?
Hey, how you doing? You guys could hear me?
Yeah.
You guys could hear me? Yeah, how you doing? Happy Father's Day, man. Happy holiday to you guys, and thanks for having a show today.
Thank you, sir.
On Father's Day, you know,
Thank you.
You know, okay. So yeah, so about Errol Spence, I think Errol Spence did a great job. He fought an unbeaten fighter with a pretty good resume for a Mexican circuit. I mean, he beat a Mexican national champion. He went in there. He went there assertive, but the thing is that this guy, you know, he got too close, and the power was too much. I mean, he should have let some of the power fade away, but he didn't. I guess his trainers didn't have the experience at that world level yet. You know what I mean? So they put him in there in the pocket too early, and that's what happened. Errol Spence should just move on to bigger and better things. I feel like he should try to get a fight, like the same fight that he mentioned, the winner of the Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. Either of those two fighters are gonna have a very hard time to try to compete with him in that fight, and unify, and then try to see if he could get Terence Crawford next. I mean, he shouldn't fight no more C-class fighters anymore, and at all.
Well, remember, Suleiman, this was a mandatory, so he had no choice.
Yeah, absolutely. He had no choice, and he fought a pretty good mandatory. The kid was unbeaten. Everybody's talking about this Devinchenko guy in middleweight. He's 12-0 with 10 knockouts, and everybody wants him to put him against Danny Jacobs. So, those are the kind of caliber fighters, regardless of amateur career and anything. They put these guys with a very low experience in the professional level, and they put them against a champion. And I mean, if their game is not correct, you know, they're gonna lose. You know, and also I sent you a tweet. I
did.
Tweet about how you call about this guy.
Yeah, I tweeted you back.
Diego Chavez.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be fighting in South Africa against this unbeaten fighter. The unbeaten fighter is 13-0 with 10 knockouts. He's a native fighter from South Africa, from East Cape. His name is Tulani something. That guy's gonna fight against Diego Chavez, a guy that Jamal James knocked out in 3 rounds for the vacant IBO championship. You know what I mean? A belt that a lot of people in podcasts they disregard the belt.
Sure.
They don't even want to mention Anthony Joshua having one of those belts. I don't know why. If a guy's paying sanctioning fees and he's a world champion, he should be get the respect of a world champion. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you're paying sanctioning fees. You're fighting for a championship. You're trying to unify, and a lot of these guys, they don't give the recognition to this belt. You know what I mean? So now this is a guy that lost in 3 rounds to Jamal James, and now he's going to South Africa and pad up this guy's record that's unbeaten. If he does win, I don't know what he's going to do with that belt. You were saying?
If okay, so if he wins, it's more of a stepping stone. So for Tulani Mbenge, he's 13-0, and like you said, they're fighting this in the Emperor's Palace in Kempton Park, and it's the IBO title. It's not like it doesn't surprise me that Diego Chavez is in the fight. It doesn't really surprise me, but for Mbenge, what this is going to be is a stepping stone for him. He'll look for rankings and everything like that because he can still be ranked, even though he's the IBO champ. He'll still be ranked in the major governing bodies, the WBC, WBA, IBF.
Right.
He'll still be ranked there. So that's a good step up for him. That means he'll get a solid ranking going forward. The IBO isn't really considered. I mean, obviously if I had an IBO belt, I would be very happy too. But the thing is, it's not really considered as the big 3. I think there's only, big 4 anyway now.
Big 4, yeah.
Yeah, big 4. It used to be the big 2. How about that?
Yeah, I know.
So the big 4 now, I mean, it's not really considered one of those belts, and that's why they don't really publish it with Anthony Joshua and everything. He's definitely the IBO. But it's more of a stepping stone. People look at it as more of a stepping stone, I think, than anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Chavez is fighting for it.
Yeah, so you're saying if a guy takes this belt and does 10 defenses, I mean, he can't do like what Ricky Hatton did, ask for more money, and also this guy too, Chris Eubanks used that belt, and he beat Arthur Abraham, and he got into the series with that belt, and he lost to George Groves, but he brought that belt into that fight.
The problem though is that the reason these belts they don't last they're not going to last long, and like you said, he's going to make 10 defend. He might defend it, and if he defended it 10 times, I mean, obviously, he's got something going on. But the problem is, I mean, look at his mandatories are going to be. I mean, like you said, I mean, he's fighting Diego Chavez, which you agree probably has no business in there. I mean, he probably has no business in there with an up and comer like this guy. Like again, I haven't seen him, but he's 13-0. Obviously, they're taking him over there. They're looking at something there. Somebody sees something matchmaker wise. And it's probably not on Diego Chavez's level.
Right.
Or he could be one of those guys that hasn't come out of South Africa. But either way, let's just say that Mbengue wins the championship. He wins that IBO. He gets a voluntary, and then he could fight whoever, but then he has to fight a mandatory because they do have mandatories in the IBO. So he'll have to fight a mandatory. And pretty soon the money he's going to get for fighting his mandatories is going to get outweighed by the money he can get fighting top contenders. That's kind of where I look at it from. And that's why those belts don't last long in the sense that he's not going to hang on to
So that's what it is.
Go ahead.
It's a money thing, right? It's a money thing.
For sure.
It's a money thing, right, Eric?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So yeah, so thanks for having me on. I don't want to be like prolonging the phone call. Thanks for giving me an opportunity, and thank you for answering my question, and you have a great day, okay?
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thanks, Suleiman.
Thank you so much. Good call, buddy. Yeah, he's always got good stuff to say. He had tweeted me earlier on today and about that. And I thought it was interesting, man, because it's like you said, but it was the IBO. And he's right. Is it a legitimate title belt, And I got to be honest, man, if I had an IBO belt, I'd be touting myself as the world champ. Like Chris Eubank Jr. did the same thing when he got his IBO belt.
And Chris Van Heerden, before he came over to the States, he had an IBO belt.
But the thing is that most people don't, the fighters, it's important to the fighters, but most people aren't going to recognize that as like a world championship belt. And it's because,
they're not.
And like you said, I mean, what if he makes 10 defenses of it? Yeah, but, your mandatories aren't going to be exactly stellar over there. I mean, look at Crawford. Or not Crawford, but look at Spence last night. He fought Ocampo. And not that Ocampo was a bad fighter, but nobody'd ever heard of him. How is he the number one? How is he the mandatory? You know what I mean? He had to win some fights to get there and everything, but how is he the mandatory? I don't know. Well,
I had Joe from Indiana. He called me Friday and he said, "Who the hell is Ocampo?" I said, "He's mandatory, man. That's all I know."
Mandatory. What are you going to do? All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here. There's not too many here. June, let's see. Actually, I think there's one ahead of that. June 21st. Is that a Friday, Robert?
That's Thursday.
All right, Thursday. On dbe1.com, live.dbe1.com. Go ahead and remember that one. DeBella's Network, Lou DeBella's Network. That's a great, that's a great URL to put out there because that's very memorable.
That's a great PBC move. Okay.
Yeah, it's even Dejan Zlotnin versus Roberto Ramirez, 10 rounds lightweights, and headlining this card is Mikko Lespierre versus Gustavo Vittori, 10 rounds welterweights. I cannot wait to not watch that.
I'm not watching that.
On Friday, June 22nd on Showtime. Clarissa Shields versus Hannah Gabriels, 10 rounds for the vacant IBF WBA women's middleweight title. Christina Hammer versus Tori Nelson, 10 rounds for Hammer's WBC and WBO women's middleweight title. Looks like those two are going to have a showdown. Let's see what else here. June 23rd, which is a Sunday. Is that right? That's a Saturday. I'm sorry. On ESPN Plus, we were just talking about this from London, and Nacho was referring to this when he called. Roberto Garcia versus Martin Murray, my guy Martin Murray, 12 rounds middleweights. Daniel Dubois versus Tom Little, 10 rounds heavyweights, and Anthony Yard versus Darius Seck, 10 rounds light heavyweights. O'Hara Davis also on the card against Paul Kamanga, 12 rounds junior welterweights. And that is about it for the recognizable names on there. Also on ESPN Plus that same day, Miguel from Oaxaca, Mexico. I would love to go to Oaxaca someday. Miguel Burchelt versus Jonathan Victor Barros, 12 rounds for Burchelt's WBC junior lightweight title. On ESPN2, Virgil Ortiz versus Juan Carlos Salgado, 10 rounds junior welterweights. From Scotland that same day, but I don't see any television on this one. So we may have to stream it or go to YouTube or something like that. Victor Postol versus Josh Taylor, 12 rounds for the WBC junior welterweight eliminator. Tony Yoka versus David Allen, 10 rounds heavyweights at Paris. That's in Paris again. No television on that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's see what else.
How the mighty have fallen. Victor Postol.
And of course, there was no television on the fight we were just talking about. Tulani Mbenge versus Diego Chavez, 12 rounds welterweights, and that's from Kempton Park in South Africa. So there you go.
Wow. Okay.
What about
a wonderful weekend? Folks.
Yeah. Right. All right. Are you not watching the Clarissa Shields fight, Robert? You're such a sexist.
No, I'll watch it.
You're
I'll
such
watch
a sexist, Robert. You think Robert will watch that? I don't think Robert's watching that.
No time. I'll watch it.
I don't think he's going to watch it, to be honest with you.
I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to say he watched it. He's not going to watch it because he doesn't.
I'm going to check on it.
I'll even record it.
Robert said the women should be in the kitchen. That was messed up. That
was, I've never said that.
I still got that on tape, man. Don't even try to deny it. What do you think? Yeah. I don't like Clarissa Shields personally. She just gets on my nerves. I don't like her whole gimmick or whatever. But she's a great fighter. She really is. I think she's kind of heads and tails above everybody else. I don't see anybody beating her. Do you?
No, I don't.
Not. There's no one on the horizon that I see. No.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that she's probably going to be the best one out there. Yeah. So that's
she's going to be the Floyd Mayweather of the females.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So yeah, nothing going on there. Nothing going on this weekend. All right, let's talk about the big things coming up here. News and rumors. The big news here. Triple G versus Canelo. The rematch is signed. Triple G and Canelo finally came to a deal for September 15th on Mexican Independence Day weekend. The fight almost didn't happen. De La Hoya and Golden Boy made a last-ditch effort to make the fight, and in the end, Triple G signed the contract. Now, the original terms were 57.5 to 42.5 in favor of Canelo. Triple G said no to the offer, and then it was revised. Then he took the deal. My guess is that it went to 45 to 55 for Canelo, so Triple G got 45%. I don't know if that's factual. That's just my guess. If the fight did go through, if the fight did not go through, Triple G had a deal in place to fight Billy Joe Saunders in August, which is probably why Sanders got injured for his Martin Murray fight. Saunders had to know the risk, though. You know, he had to know that fight wasn't done. Robert, you're a Triple G guy. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, I was perfectly happy with the rematch not taking place, you know, because I have said here repeatedly the last few weeks, if you're going to hold, you know, belts, you've got to fulfill your mandatories. And Triple G has been very good at doing that throughout his championship reign. You know, however, the rematch is here. I'm definitely going to watch it. Whoever wins, whether it's Triple G or whether it's Canelo, I want a clear-cut winner. I don't want no controversy. You know, I would much rather see the fight taking place somewhere else other than Vegas because of what happened last time, but we know it's going to take place in Vegas. So, but now that we have it, I want a clear-cut winner because I don't want to go through all that we've covered. You know, we've talked about this rematch more than other upcoming fights, and it wasn't even done until this week. So, but regardless of what happens, whoever wins, you know, I want to see people like Daniel Jacobs and other people that deserve shots at titles get them. So whoever wins, you know, they got to fight legitimate people. You know, I don't like what the IBF did to Triple G. It still doesn't make sense to me, but, you know, they did what they did. But I want this rematch to be done and over with, so we don't have to talk about it anymore. Frankly, I'm getting a little Triple G'd and Canelo'd out because we've had to talk about this so much. And don't forget, guys, the last time I picked Triple G, but who did I score it for? I scored it for Canelo. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, you're not exactly known for your scoring ability. Everybody had. So Robert, let me ask you a question. Like, would you rather saw the Billy Joe Saunders fight than Triple G Canelo? Triple G Saunders?
Look, yes, I would have, because A, that's a unification bout. B, Billy Joe Saunders finally showed me what kind of champion he really is when he went to Canada and thoroughly dominated David Lemieux. It wasn't even close. So, yeah, I would have been perfectly happy with that.
There you go. Beeb, what are your thoughts here?
Well, the interesting thing here is I think the boxing gods have spoken, because I got to ask you guys a question. Can you remember ever a year in American boxing where we didn't have one big pay-per-view event? Like this just would have been unprecedented, going a whole year if this fight didn't come off with no United States pay-per-view event occurring in it. So for that, I kind of thought that, you know what, this fight pretty much has to happen. And I was pretty confident it was going to happen. I mean, would I have been upset if it didn't happen? I don't know. I mean, the Billy Joe Saunders fight with Triple G is definitely more intriguing. But this fight is starting to become intriguing to me too, now that I think about it, because of the sidebar stories involved in it. Will Canelo be different because of the stringent drug testing? The speculation that possibly he may have been on some PEDs the first fight, which is fair to do, even though it's not really 100% substantiated. But the speculation is there, and I think it's fair to suspect. Triple G, mentally going into this fight, could be a little bit different. You know, he could have had the big fight jitters in the first fight. And again, he was having his first child during the camp for the first fight. So all those things probably could have had an effect on him. I don't know, but not to make excuses, because you still have to perform under any circumstances. But as time goes on, and as we get close to this event, I'm going to be excited about it. And right now, I'm kind of excited about it because these guys don't like each other. So if that carries over into the ring, we could get a war. I know we say that often in big fights, that we're going to get a war, we're going to get a battle, we're going to get a highlight reel type performance from both guys. It's going to be the fight of the century, whatever, and it doesn't always pan out that way. I think it's going to pan out this way this time. I think that we're going to see a different Triple G. And I've said this several times. I think he was off in the first fight, and Canelo fought the fight of his life. And with that being said, I still had him winning the first fight, as many others did. So I'm excited about this fight now. Now that it is signed, I think it kind of saves American boxing, because again, I can't remember ever when we did not have a big pay-per-view event, and this would have kind of been a downer for me, because there would have been no big pay-per-views. My boxing Super Bowl would not have occurred this year if it wasn't for this fight. Now, if this fight happens as well as the Anthony Joshua Deontay Wilder fight, then whoa, that's like Christmas right there.
Right.
But I'm excited about this fight now. I think that this fight has a better storyline now. And if you want me to talk about that tweet that I've
absolutely, yes, go ahead with that.
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Mention this tweet from Michael Benson that I got on Twitter here, and it says, Tom Loeffler confirmed there will not be any face-off / gloves are off program for the Canelo Triple G rematch, as the fighters don't want to see each other. No more pressers until fight week. So there's bad blood there. These guys are so have such a vitriol toward each other that they don't even want to be in the same room together. So this fight is personal now. But again, is that smart? Is that smart for the promotion? Because I had someone reply to me, oh, I don't care about the press conferences. I don't care about the 24/7s. The gloves are off. None of that stuff. It means nothing to me. I don't watch that stuff anyways. Come on, man. Can anyone actually honestly say
stuff?
Can anyone actually say that they've never watched a boxing press conference? Can they actually say they've never watched a build-up show to a fight? You know, they've never ever done that. I mean, I look forward to that stuff. I think it's great for the promotion. I think it kind of lets us know what's in store, what lies ahead, what's in the fighters' minds going in. And it's interesting when you put them face to face together and they're being asked questions and they're interacting with each other and they can sit there and challenge each other verbally. And as I said several times, the fight starts before the first bell rings. And all these things play a factor in that, the psychological warfare. So I know that the fighters work for the promoters, I should say, work for the fighters. But at some point in time, the promoters got to step in and they got to say to the fighters, hey, you know what? This just isn't smart. This isn't right. You're promoters, so you should get paid to promote. You should do your job. And by allowing this to go on and not trying to change it, that's a problem. This is a problem. And I would even think that HBO should step in and say, hey, man, this is a prerequisite for this fight. I mean, you're going to be on our network. We have a vested financial interest in this as well. Guys got to do some press. Got to do some press. No way of getting around it. It's a slap in the face to us. You're using our pay-per-view arm, but you're not helping us promote the fight. And we're the ones putting up the money to some degree. I mean, obviously, we still have to get the revenue from the people buying the fight, but HBO is going to be doing their own advertising, and they want to protect their own financial interest in this, and they want this to be a good showing at the box office. They want people to buy this fight because they want to get their cut as well. And if the fighters aren't going to play ball with them, and they're not going to be a team player with them in regards to this promotion, then that's just not a good look. It's like two little kids having an argument, and they want to take their ball and go home with it. That's not how you promote a fight.
Well, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time, Beeb. If fighters don't get out and promote themselves, how are people going to know who they are? Well, here we are, a mega pay-per-view stage. The first time it did really well. Are the numbers going to be affected this time around if they don't actually do any kind of promotion? Are people really going to be interested in buying? I mean, we are, because we're hardcores. But how many? You can't draw in the casual fans if you don't go out and do press conferences and promotion things and things like that.
And to be fair, this is something that was on Twitter, so I don't know if this is 100% accurate. Right. It may not be, but I don't know.
Let me just interject this though. I mean, do they need it though? I mean, honestly, you think about it for a minute. You don't need to be face to face for the 24/7s. They'll have a 24/7. Yeah, they're going to have to. HBO can hype this fight. I mean, they can hype it with a 24/7. May not be able to do a face-off, but they can definitely do a 24/7.
But remember, Eric, the fighters can say, no, we're not interested. We don't want you showing up to our camp. Well,
HBO can say we're not interested. We don't want it on pay-per-view.
Eric, I forgot about that, because they won't be face-to-face if it's 24/7. They'll just have camera crews go to their respective camps. So that's something I did not think about. But not having any press conferences until the week of the fight.
I agree. Last time, didn't they go? They did like a tour or something like that, didn't they?
They did a tour, yeah. So
yes, they did.
So maybe you're right about the face-offs not being significant. Okay, I get that. But did they even have a 24/7 for the first one?
I don't know. Did they? I thought they did, but it wasn't like.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But they've got to be, you got to grow up here because listen, at the end of the day, everybody's getting paid. Everybody's getting a cut of that pay-per-view, the gate, everything like that. And your goal as a fighter, obviously, is to beat the other guy, but it's also to make money. And that's how you make money is by going to the press, is by making these press conferences and by making the fight interesting. Okay, we got two guys that hate each other and they don't see each other till the night of the fight. Okay, that's not interesting to me. That's not interesting at all because you say you hate the other guy. Listen, I want to see you in the same room. I want to see you go after each other. I want to talk to each other. I mean, let's see your reaction. Let's see if this hatred is real. Let's see if this grudge match is going to sell. I don't know.
Well, with all of Canelo's bad publicity with the 2 positive drug tests, are Mexicans going to buy this?
Oh yeah. Of course, he's still popular. He's still the money guy over there.
I was talking to Chacal, man. They're still behind him.
Oh yeah. Oh, Chacal. Yeah, Chacal loves him. Yeah, I mean, he's still.
Chacal loves him. I asked him. I said, you're over in Mexico. What is the opinion of Canelo out there right now? Did he lose any fan base? I said, no, not at all.
No,
they're still with him.
Now the soccer team is eating the steaks. Did you see that big win against Germany today? So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Deontay Wilder accepts Anthony Joshua's offer. The excuses are getting smaller and smaller for Anthony Joshua. First, he wanted $50 million to make the fight happen. Wilder and his people came to the table and offered it. Then they wanted the fight to take place in the UK instead of Las Vegas. That fight would mean a lot less money. Wilder said, okay. Wilder is going to take a significant pay cut if it moves to the UK. And he said, you know what? That's fine. I just want the fight. Boom. What's next? Beeb, does this fight happen? Eddie Hearn said that he's going to be faxing the contract over. He's going to be emailing him a contract.
Yeah.
What he's going to do.
The one thing that troubles me about this is they send in the contract over, but then Eddie Hearn, he just keeps saying things that make me feel that he's not really prioritizing this fight. He's not really enthusiastic enough with this fight happening right now. He keeps saying, this fight could be next, or even if we don't fight him next, we could put in we could fight him in February. You know what I mean? And just the contradictions and saying one thing one day and another thing another day. It's just hard for me to believe anything that Eddie Hearn says. So, will this fight happen this year? Possibly. But the contract was sent over by, I guess, on Friday. So we have to hear something by this week. We have to hear something by this week. I am crossing my fingers, and I am highly, highly optimistic that we will see this fight. And I'm going to say, yeah, we will see this fight next. I think at the end of the day, they're going to put it together. I think they realize that this Povetkin fight's a tough fight too. And if you're really, have your best interest in the fighter, if you're putting the best interest of the fighter first, then you have to say to yourself, you know what? If Joshua loses to Povetkin, then this Wilder fight may not happen. And this is not an easy task fighting Povetkin. It's not an easy style to deal with. The guy can punch, and he's a good inside fighter. He's strong. So you don't know what can happen in this sport, especially in the heavyweight division. So I think if they're smart, they would take the Wilder fight next. They really would.
Who's the easier fight here, Beeb? Wilder or Povetkin?
Honestly?
Yeah.
The way Josh was acting, neither one of them.
I think style-wise, I would say maybe the Povetkin fight could be a little bit more difficult for Joshua, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think you might be right, man, because Povetkin can box. He's more well-rounded than Wilder. Wilder's got one way to win.
Wilder doesn't fight on the inside like Povetkin either.
But
I think though,
afraid of Wilder's power. Is that why all the excuses?
I think Deontay Wilder I think Deontay Wilder matches up better with Povetkin than Anthony Joshua does because of how unorthodox he is. I think Wilder will be better for Joshua because Joshua probably would have an advantage on the inside with Wilder if he was able to get on the inside. Because Wilder's a guy that likes range. We know that. He can shorten up the right hand and he can land an uppercut now and then. But Povetkin can plant himself in that pocket and he can effectively fight on the inside fluidly with combination punching, whereas Wilder's one punch at a time on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So you may block one of Povetkin's shots, but he's going to come right back with another one. He's not going to sit there and load up. So style-wise, I think the Povetkin fight's a tougher fight, and it's going to be for a lot less money. And here's another thing that troubles me, because when they were talking about this fight during the negotiations with Wilder and Joshua, oh, if it's in the UK, then it has to be September. But if it's in the United States, it has to be November or December. So why now all of a sudden they're talking about, oh, Canelo? Canelo told you a year ago he was fighting in September.
He fights every year in September.
Yeah, so why does the Canelo fight play a factor now? So you'll fight Povetkin in September, but you won't fight Wilder in September. So I think Eddie Hearn is concerned about, maybe he's thinking the American pay-per-view. But here's another one, guys. If you put this fight in the UK, you can't put this fight on American pay-per-view. Who's going to buy a pay-per-view that starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? It's just not going to happen.
Oh, that's a great point.
It's not going to happen. And I already mentioned this before when I talked about how it's better to have this fight in the United States to maximize the revenue, because now you're just going to get a broadcast fee from Showtime, which is going to be between $2 or $3 million, as opposed to getting that pay-per-view money that you could have gotten if it was the United States and you could show it in prime time. And then you say, well, Beeb, what about the time difference in the UK? These guys stay up to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They did it to watch Mayweather McGregor. They did it to watch Mayweather Hatton. Our fan base will not do that. So that's the difference. You can't. If this fight's in the UK, you can't put this fight on pay-per-view because the American public will not buy it.
No.
So Eddie Hearn is like, oh well, we have to worry about the pay-per-view in America. That's why we don't want to go up against Canelo. Blah blah blah. This and that. Eddie, there's no American pay-per-view if this fight is in the UK. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to watch that fight, like you said, at 5 in the afternoon.
That's why I don't understand that's why I don't understand Joshua's thing here. If you want to put it on U.S. pay-per-view, you've got to come to the U.S. I don't understand why he's so hell-bent on staying home. Other champions from the UK have traveled over here.
I mean, he's got his reasons. I mean, he is the A side. He can do what he wants. But, with that, just like freedom of speech, you can say whatever you want, but there are consequences. And his side, the A side, can do whatever they want, but there are consequences to that.
And here's another thing. Eddie Hearn is supposed to be so smart when it comes to numbers, so smart when it comes to deals. And he's trying to sign American fighters. But when it comes to this whole situation, he seems to be doing everything wrong. Like, why would you take a fight with Povetkin next for less money that could arguably be equally as dangerous as the fight that you could make a ton more money with? Like, style-wise, I think Povetkin's a tougher fight for Joshua. It's not a given that Joshua beats Povetkin. It really isn't. And if I could get 4-1 odds or even 3-1 odds, I would lay money down on Povetkin. I would. He's a good value play. I don't like what I saw when Anthony Joshua fought
60 seconds.
Carlos Ocampo. I didn't like how he looked on the inside. I didn't like how he looked against Parker. I didn't like seeing him get hit with those right hands. Yeah. And I saw some things that Povetkin can exploit on Joshua. I really did. So, and Joshua's not going to hold on the inside like Klitschko did. He's not. And Joshua does not have that jab that Klitschko has. Okay? And that's why he gets hit with so many right hands over the top of that jab that he sometimes throws lazily and leaves out there and does not snap it back in, as opposed to what Klitschko does. It's a different fight. It's a different fight.
You know, and the last thing you want to do is be susceptible to right hands when you're fighting Wilder, you know.
Yeah.
10 seconds.
So,
all right. Beeb, it's time.
Rihanna, hurry up. Hurry up. Do it. Go ahead, hurry up.
Chugga, 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 chugga. Choo-choo.
Oh, that was great. That was
Thank
great.
you.
Much better than what Beeb does, that's for sure. Horrible. Horrible what Beeb does. Great job, Rihanna. Train wreck of the week this week is Adrian Broner's bizarre behavior on social media. As we know, it is the Adrian Broner train wreck of the week. And so Adrian Broner took to social media this week to post a bizarre series of messages, including, I quote, "Dying would be a compliment to me right now." And he was also talking with Gervonta Davis about jumping Floyd Mayweather. This is pretty troubling because, you know, he's talked a lot about suicide in the past and everything like that. I think that, you know, he was at the fight last night. This was interesting. This was real interesting. I don't know if you guys caught this interview or not, but he was on Fight Hub, had interviewed him. He was at the Errol Spence fight last night. Fight Hub interviewed him. The guy from Fight Hub was really, really happy to get the interview and everything. And he was really, really respectful, I thought. You know, he didn't take any cheap shots at him or anything like that. But he asked Adrian Broner, he said, you know, "You're the only guy to knock down Sean Porter in his career." And he was like, yeah, absolutely. You know, he was like, what exactly makes Sean Porter such a tough guy to fight? It was something along those lines. Broner looked at him and had this bizarre smile on his face, and he just walked away. He just walked off the interview. And I just thought that there's something wrong with this guy. He's not all there. He's cracking up right in front of you. You know what I mean? And I don't think this is for attention anymore. I used to think that, you know, he did this because of attention or whatever. But this isn't this. I don't think this is an attention thing. I think he needs help. I think he really needs legit help. And everybody in his entourage that's going ahead and enabling this stuff and everything and not, you know, telling him, the people closest to him should be telling him to get help, you know, because I really do believe that's, you know, if you want to get, you know, attention and everything, like, you know, there's different ways to go about it. You don't talk about suicide and everything like that. I mean, that's not really something anybody really jokes about.
Eric, is this the case where he's taken too many punches and he shouldn't be fighting anymore?
I don't know about that. But like I said, I mean, it's I think he's been mentally unstable for a while.
This is a case. This is a case where things didn't go the way you wanted them to go.
Yeah.
And you can't deal with. Same thing with Tyson Fury. He became the heavyweight champion of the world. So now, before he became the heavyweight champion of the world, he was a guy that had nothing to lose. He was, you know, he wasn't supposed to win. So now when you're supposed to win, the pressure of not being able to win when you're supposed to win is greater than the pressure of when you're not supposed to win and you win.
Right.
So now Broner was highly touted, and he was larger than life. He was the next Floyd Mayweather. And now that never, you know, came to pass, that never materialized. Now, because of that, he can't deal with the reality of the situation that maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. And for someone to suggest that to me hurts even more. So that's why I have to walk away from it, because I can't confront it. I can't conquer it. Right. I can't deal with the criticism of maybe someone saying to me and me coming to the realization that maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. I don't think he can deal with that. And I think because of that, his life is crumbling around him psychologically. Fighters are very fragile ego when it comes to their ego. Their ego is what drives most of them. And if that is damaged in any way, that's just as dangerous and just as detrimental to a fighter as breaking his hand.
Right.
You know? So that's just the way I look at it.
Well, it's just like the last time we saw Triple G in the ring. For the first time that I can ever remember, he actually showed up. Didn't look like he was having fun. Looked like he was all serious and totally ticked off. And went out and did what he did against Monterosian. And then in the interview afterwards, he wasn't his normal self. You know, same kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the guy he wanted to fight, though. Martirosian was, you know, I think that might have been a different thing because Martirosian's not the guy he wanted to fight, you know.
I think Triple G is a different story. And you made a great point, and I'm going to agree with you on what you said. Because I think that the reasons are different why Triple G feels the way he feels and the reasons why Adrian Broder feels the way he feels. Triple G, I think, does have a different mentality now. I think he's come to the realization that, you know what, this isn't just about the fighting anymore. This is a business, and I have to play the game like everyone else. And now I'm going to go out there, and this isn't a sport anymore. This is a business, and I'm going to go out there and I'm taking people's heads off. I'm not playing around anymore. I think he has the mentality. I'm not looking at this as a sport anymore. He's looking at this as I got to destroy these guys and I got to make as most money as I can right now because that's what it's all about at this point. My goals have changed. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Also this week, David Haye announces his retirement. Tuesday of this past week, David Haye has officially announced his retirement. I think this was a good move. I think it's a couple fights too late, but you know, but hey, he announced it and good for him. He's had a great career and there's nothing to prove, man. No reason to go forward. He shouldn't have went forward that second Bellew fight. He actually shouldn't have went forward that first Bellew fight either. I'm just saying.
That's right.
You know, but Beeb, any thoughts about David Haye?
Hey, hats off to him. Had a great career. How many guys can say they were the heavyweight champion in the world? How many guys can say they unified a division? How many times has that cruiserweight division ever been unified? I think Evander Holyfield did it, and with David Haye, probably the other guy. Well, I don't think David Haye had all of them, but he had like 3 of them or something like that.
The only 2.
Yeah. But yeah, hats off to David Haye. Shout out to David Haye. And I like the way he ended his career. You know, he was thought of as, you know, when he was coming up as to be brash, braggadocious, a little bit off-putting to some. But let's just say the way he ended his career, he ended it with class.
Right.
The way he handled both Tony Bellew losses and the way he spoke about his decision to retire when he went on camera, how gracious he was and how thankful he was and how humble he was. He was just basically humanized himself and let us see the human side of him. And it's not all about these guys are just machines. They're just guys that go out there and try to kill each other. They're people too with personalities and feelings. And I think David Haye showed us that side of him. And I was, you know, really appreciative to see that side of him. And I you know, I like David Haye. I got to give him credit. And I'm, you know, happy to see him go out the way he went out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're trying to end the show as close to 9 as possible. I know it's a little after 9. We're in overtime here. So we have one final call here. I'm just going to ask you to keep it quick. Corey, 804.
Oh, this is me.
You're live.
Hey.
Corey, what's up, buddy?
What's happening, man?
Hey, I really appreciate y'all taking my call, man. I know I called in a little late, but I had to drop my call off, but I was still listening to the show, but I didn't know. And plus, y'all were talking. Y'all been having a great show, man. What's going on, Robbie, Beeb, and Eric? Y'all doing a great job, man.
Thank you.
And, you know, the fight this weekend with Errol Spence, man. I truly think that Errol Spence, you know, he's a big threat at 147. You know, with that being said, you know, I truly think that, you know, him versus Terrence Crawford would be an awesome fight. You know what I mean? I mean, my personal opinion is right now, if I had to pick, you know, I think it'll be a 50-50 right now, man. You know, but if I had to lean one side or another, I keep going back and forth because it's so 50-50. You know, you got power with Errol Spence. You know what I mean? And then you got skill level, you know what I mean? I think Terrence Crawford's skill, just his pure boxing ability, is definitely on another level than Errol Spence Jr. In my opinion, in my personal opinion. I think his skill level is a little bit better than Errol Spence. That's Terrence Bud Crawford. I think with him switching southpaw will probably give Errol Spence a little bit of hell in that ring. And it's a fight that I really truly want to see. But do not ever count out my boy Danny Swift Garcia, because he's on the road. He's on the comeback, baby. And I cannot wait, man. I mean, he's just one of those type of fighters where, you sleep on him, and then, bam, he beats your favorite freaking fighter. So, I mean, like I said, man, I think Danny Garcia puts up a hell of a fight with Sean Porter, but I think he does get the nod. And, that's an awesome fight that I can't wait to see, man. And, that fight should be coming up in late August, early September is what Danny Garcia said on his live stream on his Instagram that I looked at the other day. He said he cannot announce it right now. And I quote, he said, but, he said that the fight will be in late August, early September. So definitely be on the watch for Team DSG. And, like I said, I want to give a special salute to David Haye. He had a hell of a career. I'm going to hang up all the posters and all the, the giveaways I received. And, like I said, man, David Haye had a hell of a ride. It was an up and down roller coaster. You know what I mean? I don't want to see David Haye take any more punishment. Years ago, 2, 3, even 3 or 4 years ago, I would have laughed at somebody saying Tony Bellew could beat a David Haye. I would have laughed at that. The David Haye that beat Chisora, I think, was on his A game in the heavyweight division, and I think that David Haye would have gave some of these heavyweights at today era, problems. But my true theory about David Haye is, I think he truly went downhill when he turned vegan. I didn't see the muscle definition. I didn't see the same, power there anymore. And I studied David Haye, very thoroughly. Once he went vegan, I still didn't see it. I didn't see it anymore. I'm being completely honest with you. He leaned out. Muscle mass definitely went down. And, hey, props to all you vegan people out there, man. But at the end of the day, man, you're putting your life on the line, man. And you know what I mean? You need all the muscle you can get in this world, in this sport called boxing. And, you need all the technique you can get. And I feel like he got a little bit slow too with age as well. I think he tried to preserve himself by going vegan, but it definitely backfired. But, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. It's been a great show. I wish you guys nothing but the best, man. And, Beeb, thanks for coming to the show the other day, man. That was nothing but love, man. And you guys have a great night. Peace out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corey. And you can catch Corey on Corey Lee Boxing on YouTube. He's got live shows on there and everything like that. So check him out. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert or call him on Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917-259-1810 and leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1 and find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside73, and we will see you next week.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. Brianna, you want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day?
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Yeah, wish everyone a happy Father's Day.
What's that?
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.